Welcome to episode 8 of A Matter of Perspective. I'm your host, bdalpe. Hope you're having a fine summer. If you watched the last broadcast, you would see that my video quality was not the best. So that's something I've been wrestling. I'm a pretty tech savvy guy, but this is kind of new to me, this whole video casting. And apparently my packet rate or packet loss, we'll say, that's the connection. For the not Wi-Fi, for the wired connection isn't where it should be. So if you're watching this on YouTube and you just see a static picture of me, it's because I don't want to portray that max headroom type of video quality that you've seen. If you don't know who Max Headroom is, and I'm dating myself, look it up. So yeah, welcome. The last episode of Mike Sedini was a really good one. He's a great guy. Like we articulate, it's a great cause of Walk the Talk America. So if you are on YouTube, please subscribe, hit that bell icon so that will notify you when a new episode is posted. And as always, for the listeners, the phone number to call in, to be a guest, to be a sponsor. If you know someone who wants to be a guest, suggestions is 508-677-7219, and the email is bdalpe, DALPE, at comcast.net. So hopefully you can call in or make a suggestion. That would be great. So today's topic is going to be anxiety, that everyone can experience for sure. Alex just turned 17, actually. The other day on the 8th, July 8th, big day for us. Big day. Every day is great celebration with Alex for sure. Every birthday. But anxiety is something that plagues a lot of people. And it can be linked to worry, and, all this stuff is linked. All this feely stuff is all linked together. What causes it in our lives could be different, right? So for today, it's going to be, centered around Alex, obviously. Now, if you're predisposed to anxiety or depression or worry before, you have even children in general, then that can be exasperated for sure when you have children. In fact, what I tell a lot of my younger people that are going to be parents, specifically young men, is I'm like, picture marriage is just like a snow globe at rest. All those little white beads are settled on the bottom. You can see that scenery. And then when you get married and when you have kids, you shake that snow globe up. And that's what life is like with kids. You don't know what to expect. There's something new at every turn. So specifically too, with the special needs child, that's really true, whether it be behavioral or physical, it's a never ending target, we'll say. So let's talk about anxiety again. This is just from my perspective. I'd love to get my wife on here one day, the kids on here. And I know I say that it's like a broken record every time I come on here, but it's true. And it's amazing to me how, not resistance, we'll say, but not the willingness to come on. I asked Angela the other day, and she's like, I'm just not ready. So, when Billy gets back from where he is, which should be next week, I'll at least get Billy on and see if, getting Billy on would be enough to get Angela on. Because it's important, different lenses, see different things. And I think it's very, very important for people to get different perspectives. I know it's a broken record, but it's true, right? It's very true. And if one person can listen to any of this and change their lives or change some aspect of it for the better, then this is a win. It's an absolute win. And I am not giving up on this channel. I have not had but one person reach out to me. We give the number, we give the email. That's okay, right? It's not about the popularity. It's not about any of that, right? There could be one person who just listens to it and helps them, and I don't even know about it, then that's good, right? So anyway, so anxiety. So in the context of my life, I before, say, Alex, I really didn't have much anxiety at all. Just the normal things, like I was taking a new instructor development class, and I had to teach back in front of other A plus, A personalities. You get that little anxiety. That's good stuff. That's healthy. That's the good anxiety. We're talking about the anxiety that causes maybe physical, um, physical traits. So what I did was I went on, let's go here. I took some screenshots on my other phone. So I went on Walk to Talk America, and I'm saying, well, do I have anxiety, right? And before we go there are different types of anxiety. If I can just find it here. Let's see. Here we go. So first of all, what are some of the traits of anxiety, right? What are some of the, you can, feeling nervous, restlessness, tense, having sense of impending danger, panic or doom, having increased heart rate. So these are some of the physical signs: breathing rapidly, like hyperventilating, sweating, trembling, feeling weak or tired, trouble concentrating or thinking about anything other than the present worry, right? What's going on, having trouble sleeping, experiencing gastrointestinal problems. Yeah, that is not a symptom of my anxiety for sure. That's other things, like maybe what I ate that day. Having difficulty controlling worry, having the urge to avoid things that trigger this anxiety. All right. So some of these definitely hit the nail on the head for me. There's no doubt about it. So when we, part of Alex's triggers is overstimulation. For instance, let's just pick on his birthday party. All right. If he knows he's going to be doing something exciting, let's go back. Actually, I'm not sure if I mentioned it in a previous episode, but he was going on a class trip at the end of the year to Mystic Aquarium. And he knew about it. He knew about it for, a week. And with Alex, given his, his idiosyncrasies, that once he knows he's going to be doing something, like you hear about it every day. Like, when am I going to that again? What, so he's building up this expectation in his head day in and day out. That can cause a seizure, because when that day comes and he's going to go do that thing, it's just, his brain just fires the wrong way. And again, I'm not a neurologist. I'm just kind of surmising. And that's what happened to the Mystic trip, right? I mean, he did a report in school on great white sharks, because he knows I love sharks. Like, it's Shark Week right now. I love it. He likes sharks too. So he even did a presentation on sharks, the best he can, and made like a little clay shark. And it was just, and he's going to go see a shark. So it was just a lot of anticipation, a lot of excitement. And he had a seizure storm, right, that the night before and into the day. So he wasn't able to go on his class trip, right? It's heartbreaking for sure. I talked about those emotional scarring, in a previous episode. So, maybe if that happened, 5 years ago, I'd be down all day in tears. But now it's like, okay, it's just part of it, and it sucks for him most of all. Right. And to see someone go through that, that's a whole nother level of, of emotion. But anyway, he didn't get to go, but he wakes up understanding. He doesn't wake up like, oh, and really mad and upset. He's just like, okay, Hakuna Matata. What are we doing now? So that's why I've said in previous episodes, you hear me say this pretty much every episode, because it is true. If Alex is smiling, we're smiling. So if he wakes up and he's like, no big deal, we should not be, down about it or upset. I mean, as parents, of course, you're going to be a little bit, right? I mean, obviously, but generally speaking, look onward and upward. So that happened, and some beautiful things happened from that. I mean, just touching things. So I made a post about it on Facebook because starting this podcast, like sharing my personal story, I just felt like, you know what, it wasn't like a poor me post. It wasn't a, hey, look what we go through. It's just a matter of fact, right? This is a day in a life. Posted it up, and a friend of ours, I'll mention her name, Holly Roy, immediately went out and bought him tickets to Mystic Aquarium. They should be coming in soon, right? What a generous expression of love, because she felt so bad for Alex, And then on top of that, a friend of ours, which I am praying to get her on this video cast, Lori O'Driscoll. I'm not going to get into too much, but she's a very important person in Gervais world. Let's just put it that way. She went out and contacted them because she's in Connecticut and made arrangements for Alex to do the SEAL experience and the Ray thing. I'm really not sure what that is, but what just a generous expression of love for Alex, and our family. It's just very touching. And I know people, comments like, oh my gosh, can't believe it. It's like, what you feel like saying is, yeah, this is just like one episode, right? This stuff happens like almost on a weekly basis, right? So, but you don't want to say that because that's not a thing to do. But it's true, right? It's something that, parents, caregiver parents, special needs child, this is the type of thing that happens regularly, right? That people don't see. And if people can learn that and say, boy, we got it pretty good. What are we complaining about? Then that's a good thing. Anyway, back to the anxiety. So it was Alex's 17th birthday. He knew about it. So here we go, right? Here we go. But he did fine that day. He was a little, he gets a little bright-eyed. You can see it in his face. Those who know him can see when he's a little off. So during his party, he's a little bright-eyed. So we gave him like an Ativan to kind of, cut that edge off. And he did well. He lasted the whole party and he did great, right? But talk about the anxiety, right? So that brings me to the anxiety topic. And his triggers again are overstimulation, too much physical activity, heat, things like that, noises, like chaotic type, like a birthday party, things like that. So those are all his significant triggers. It can also be him concentrating too much, right? Using that brain too much. So let's pick on going to like a relative's house, right? Even my mom and dad's house, especially early on, you would think that would be no big deal. Oh crap, going to Mama and Pepe's house, no big deal, right? Well, for us, it was always a big deal. And mom and dad or daddy, you'll listen to this, it's true, right? It's always a big deal. It's always a big deal. And that anxiety creeps in, right? It definitely does. And it prevented me for years from enjoying parties because I would be like white on rice on Alex, right? If he had a seizure, if I knew we'd be right there. And I can't speak for my wife. I'm sure she shares the same thing. I'm pretty positive of it. But I'll let her articulate that when she comes on. But that's that anxiety, right? So back to the symptoms of anxiety: feeling nervous, restless, or tense. Absolutely. Every outing we'd go to, that was me. Always not nervous, like biting my nails nervous, but nervous that he's going to have a seizure, and his environment. Like, okay, if he did have a seizure, okay, let me get him away from that rock. Let me get him away from that toy. Let me get him away from that edge or whatever. Right. So that was definitely that restlessness, that, always on edge. Having a sense of impending danger, panic, or doom. I wouldn't go that far. Having increased heart rate, breathing rapidly. No, see, that's that other part of anxiety. So I went on the Walk to Talk website, right? Walk to Talk America, Mike Sedini. You're going to be hearing a lot about that site in the future as well. And I took this morning the anxiety mental health screening, and it came back moderate. Like depression came back moderate too, right? So Yeah, but I would say that if you're a person, like some people are absolutely crippled from anxiety. Like that's a whole nother level of anxiety where they're like in bed, they don't want to get out of bed. Just thinking of something, they get all these physical physical traits like the sweating, the trembling, right? That's some scary stuff. I'm happy to say that I'm not there. But if you are there, go to WTTA.org, take that screening and follow the links to get the help you need for sure. And there's medications for it as well, I'm sure. This is a big one here. Having the urge to avoid the things that trigger anxiety. So yeah, so going to a party, going to an event, you're like, oh, you got to get ready for it. It's like mentally and everything that Alex needs, whether it be meds or blah blah blah. And yeah, it's there and it's real, and I don't think it'll ever go away. And that's one of the things of being a caregiver for a special needs child is that you got to live with that stuff. You can't let it debilitate you. You can't let it overcome you. You can't let it control you. And I know easier said than done, that's for sure. But that's the anxiety that I get. And even at my home, I had a lot of it at this party. And Jeff Samus, who was a guest, actually was my first guest. He came with Brody, his son Brody, and like I was yawning a lot, and he goes, "Dude, what's the matter? You tired or whatever?" And that was anxiety, like that. My mind was elsewhere, and by him saying that, I kind of, I'm like, you're right. I kind of snapped back into it. Had an energy drink, and I was good. But to have someone like recognize that or kind of say, "Hey," that actually meant a lot to me. Whether he knows that or not, I don't know if he listens, but yeah, that was actually pretty good because I was having a good. Because you know what? Here's the thing. Here's the other part of the anxiety is that it's not just about Alex. I know it sounds weird, but yes, I have anxiety, him having a seizure, not enjoying himself, but it's for other people as well. It's been many times where Alex has had a seizure and I kind of knew the situation with Al, kind of checked him out, but my priority was letting everyone know that he's okay because it is a frightening thing to notice a seizure. Even now, we've gone through thousands of them. It's still, again, that scarring, right? Been there, done that, but it's still, the big ones, it's still intimidating. So someone who's not used to seeing a seizure has to be frightened, has to absolutely be frightened, especially kids. I remember one time we went to a skating rink in Fall River. And when he was younger, we would never, ever, ever, ever let him go anywhere without us, like ever. Even now, we're very selective, really hesitant. But I went with him, and on the bus, again, excitement around his friends. He doesn't ride the bus, so even that experience was overstimulating. He had a seizure on the bus, and that really sucked that day, actually. So it was my job, make sure he's okay, obviously. But then I made eye contact with all the kids and teachers. He's okay. He's okay. He's okay. A lot of concern there, a lot of love there. You'll find that with special needs kids is that they're so pure. And there's a lot of love there, a lot of genuine concern, even with teachers too, obviously. But these kids are, and that's going to be a topic of another day. That type of unconditional love that these kids have for each other and other people, right? That is not reciprocated back. All right. So that's, I was going to include it in today, but I want to keep these things short when I'm on. I'm sure, you don't want to hear me ramble on, but yeah, that's anxiety. I had anxiety on that hockey trip or the skating rink trip the whole time, right? It's there. It never goes away. Never goes away. Now, when we're home, and he's on the couch and he's got his iPad or he's watching TV or he's doing something else, that anxiety is eliminated. Because if he had a seizure there, first of all, there's no one else it impacts. And second of all, he's safe, right? He's either on the carpet or the couch or so, that part of it is kind of interesting is that, when you're home. So when you have to go out, go somewhere, it's like, All right, here we go. All right, here we go. Yeah. So that's it about anxiety. Now there are different anxiety disorders, and I'm only going to read a couple of them. So the first one is agoraphobia. It's a type of anxiety disorder in which you fear and often avoid places or situations that might cause you to panic and make you feel trapped, helpless, or embarrassed. That's an interesting one, embarrassed. So, I would say I have a touch of that. And I don't think I have a disorder. I don't. I just think it goes with the territory of the anxiety, right? Um, Anxiety disorder due to medical condition includes symptoms of intense anxiety or panic that are directly caused by a physical health problem. So that, that's something else. So, and there's panic disorders here. There's generalized anxiety disorder, which includes persistent and excessive anxiety and worry about activities or events, even ordinary routine issues. The worry is out of proportion to the actual circumstance. So it's just, you worry too much, right? And that causes that anxiety. And to me, it's all linked. Worry, depression, anxiety, they're all kind of intertwined with each other. To me, it's a complex web that I would never even try to understand. And that's what professionals are for. But, I think worry is just like, oh, I'm worried that my plants are going to die because I didn't water them. Or, I'm worried about my son because he's on, X and X. But, worry can be good for you, and it can be benign, right? So, okay, say a prayer for him and then you're good, right? Mentally, you're like, okay, I'm just going to trust and he'll be fine. And to me, anxiety is just a step beyond that. Anxiety is when you don't let that worry go and you keep thinking about it, and it starts to obsess your brain, and can lead to what we just read, so that's my take on it. But the anxiety with Al is just when certain circumstances. And do we try to avoid them? No. Right? No, we don't, especially me. I mean, I don't. I mean, early on as a dad, I pushed Al. Like I remember one day in the backyard, because over too much physical activity can cause it, right? So I'm like, yeah, run, yeah, you can walk this way. August day, he walked like 40 feet and then had a seizure, right? Because of heat, right? One of his triggers, little overstimulation. So we do have a wheelchair for Al. He's not wheelchair bound at all. But like if we go somewhere and there's a lot of walking, he's going in his chair. Like he loves the flea market. That's something that him and I, there's three main things that it's me and Al's jam. And one of them is the flea market. I love flea markets. He loves flea markets, and we could spend all day in a flea market. But again, he's in his chair the whole time. I will let him get up here and there, to check things out, like in a booth or whatever. But then he gets right back in his chair, right? Yeah, I've been burned there too. Overstimulation. He had a seizure. I was there with him alone in the middle of the flea market. So that, so when I say I get burned, I'm not saying Beth doesn't do things with him, because that's not true, but I tend to push it a little bit. So the next one is video games. He loves the Switch right now. And the other one's the ocean, going swimming. He loves it. I got a PFD on him and a noodle, because if he had a seizure in the water, that noodle's for me, to be able to control him around just a PFD. So with that, believe it or not, when he's in the ocean like that, I have zero anxiety. I have none, not even a little bit. And we have a lot of fun in there, because I think the buoyancy, helps him too. And he has no fear in the water, which is great. I actually have to reel him in so he doesn't go too deep. I can't go too deep because I need control. I need my feet at least close to the bottom, in case he had a seizure. Again, always prepared, always ready to, act in that regard. So yeah, I guess that's it on anxiety. If you're a parent listening to this and you have a lot of anxiety that you can't, I know some people that really can't keep it in check, and I don't have an answer for that. I mean, the only thing I can tell you from me that I do is I pray. Now, people like cringe when they hear prayer, right? I don't care. Cringe all you want. Call it meditation. Call it whatever. All right. But to me, I'm a very practical guy, and I put things in a very practical perspective. Right. So, I'm always rationalizing or not, right? Saying, no, it's not rational to be like super anxious right now. Like, stop it. Right. I have that dialogue in my head constantly, right? Reminding myself, like, nope, thinking that's not appropriate. Just chill out. So that's the way I handle it, through, quick prayer, meditation, whatever you want to call it. And I do have faith. I think that everything does happen for a reason, whether, we're too feeble to really know that reason or not. Right. That's my faith coming through there. Right. Which I do. I have great faith, and you can have faith and not be religious. Right. That's okay. But whatever works for you. And again, if you have that debilitating anxiety, definitely reach out to a professional. Don't let it go unchecked. Right. And that's the whole premise of this show. And if I didn't say this before, then I'm going to say it now. One of the biggest epidemics we have in this country is people committing suicide. Right. On average, 67 people a day just commit suicide with guns alone, never mind other means. Right. I don't have that data in front of me, how many people commit suicide a day, but it's horrible. Right. And it's heart-wrenching that someone can, when they're thinking about it and they have all the chips on the table, like, how am I going to solve this problem? That suicide would be one of those means. It moves me to tears sometimes. It absolutely does. But there's a long breadth of real estate between having an issue and committing suicide, right? It's like a pebble in your shoe. In fact, I have said this before, so forgive me. It's like you go work out in the yard and you put your shoes on and there's a little pebble in there and you ignore it. And you work all day, ignore. And at the end of the day, you take your boot off and you get a big blister because of that pebble. Okay. To me, it's like that. People are so afraid to talk about their feelings. They are. And to me, a lot of this can be prevented by love, right? Just someone reaching out to someone. You'll hear me say that around the holidays. Hey, if you haven't talked to someone in a while, reach out to them, send them a text, shoot them a DM, give them a call, right? Send them an email, say, hey, just thinking about you. Sometimes that's enough. So, so talking about feelings to me is very important. And I think there's a big stigmata around that, especially with men. It's like, you don't talk about feelings. What, suck it up. And I think there is a time to suck it up, but there has to be a time to express your feelings and not keeping it bottled up. That absolutely has to be. And that's what I hope that this is, right? This venue is. This is a place where people in a very public way can come on and just kind of talk about it, and other people can learn from it, right? So, all right. I think I've rambled on enough. I am looking for guests. I know it's summertime. So just the way the show is going to go, this is episode 8. I'll probably do 2 more and then call it a season 1. And then in September, start up a season 2 with a different backdrop. This was done in a minute. Went to a print shop, got this printed. Definitely going to plan for some live shows where people can call in a very dynamic way to have dialogue. I think that would be good. And I'm looking to grow the channel. So again, looking for sponsors, looking for guests, spread the word. If you are on YouTube, subscribe, hit that bell icon, share it. And again, I'm not in this to make any money. In fact, I'm not. The time, effort, and energy that goes into this is a good amount, especially the money. I've spent well over $1,000 to get this thing going. Right. So just to tell you my level of commitment. So maybe that'll help motivate you, tell someone to come on or whatever. But anyway. All right. So that is it. I appreciate your time. Have a good rest of the summer. I'll be back on next week or the week after. Again, there's no set interval for this. It happens when it happens. And that's it. So do your best to change your perspective, get a positive outlook on life, and put a smile on. All right. God bless. See you next time.